So you have some issues apart from the BDSM stuff with Evan Rachel Wood's story in particular. There's something you said that really bothers you about, well, about her story and how it developed. So what is that?
When Evan Rachel Wood first named Manson on Instagram, and this is when I initially was still believing her, I thought that she would absolutely name her other assaulter, the supposed bar owner that had assaulted her. She had put in an article saying that she had been assaulted by a former partner and assaulted by an owner of a bar. And then within that same article, she talks about Manson, but in a positive way. She was talking about three different people.
Yes, that's right. So this is something that gets brought up sometimes by those of us who defend Manson, is that there was an interview that she did with Rolling Stone. She, for the first time, really talks about being the victim of sexual assault. And she says in this interview, like you said, she says that she was assaulted by the owner of a bar and by a significant other. And then later in the article, she talks about Marilyn Manson, but not as if he were one of these guys, but rather she talks about him in a completely different positive sense. So it gives you the strong impression that there are three different guys. There are the two guys who assaulted her, one of whom is the bar owner. Then there's Marilyn Manson, who didn't assault her, right? So what is your issue then with that?
Evan Rachel Wood and the other women that have come out to accuse Manson, they're all saying he is so dangerous. He's such a dangerous predator. But in my opinion, this owner of a bar could be a way more dangerous predator, right? Because he is a normal, everyday person. He has anonymity that Manson does not have. And if he is an owner of a bar and he is an active predator, he's going to have a whole playground day and night of potential victims coming into his establishment, intoxicated women that he can then potentially manipulate. And he could have the potential to harm so many more people and go under the radar. Whereas with Manson, as many celebrities are, they're cut off from, the general public. They just have their small circle of people they trust. Even if he was abusing women that he was dating, it'd be a much smaller circle than this potential bar owner who could hurt many more people. And that to me is a way scarier predator. So when she was not naming him, I was honestly getting kind of angry. I was like, why the hell is she not naming him? Like, he is someone we need to know. And, and the name of his establishment. But she never did. And so, in my opinion, when I came to that realization, I felt like she's not doing this to protect women. There's got to be some selfish thing going on here, some vendetta against a former partner for whatever reason. Because if Evan Rachel Wood truly cared about protecting women from predators, she would have named her other alleged predator. And she didn't. And that really disturbed me. That really made me think she's not doing this to protect women. She's doing this for some selfish vendetta against a former partner. And after that, I started looking more and more at her, just the details of her case and the other women's cases, and that also was a huge red flag. Because you can't just say, by the way, I was raped by this bar owner, and then never say it again when your whole claim to fame now is being a rape survivor. That makes no sense to me.
That is such an excellent point. Such an excellent point. Why have we not heard any more about the bar owner, especially since, as you would say, that person would have really much more regular access to women and also more access to women in compromised states. I mean, he could even slip things into their drink or whatever, right? And the other thing that's puzzling about that omission is that you would think that she talks about how she's so terrified of Manson, right? And for a long time, people, because look, she has been talking about the sexual assault thing for years now. But people for a long time were saying, why don't you name your abuser? Name your abuser. And she kept saying, well, I can't because I'm afraid that he'll kill me. Well, then once she finally named Manson as her abuser, then if you watch Phoenix Rising, that documentary, for instance, she would have us believe that she has been terrified of Manson, and she claims that she had to get she thought about getting bulletproof glass in her home, that she had like a Navy SEAL protecting her, and she had to move to Tennessee, or like there was all of this stuff about how she's so terrified of retribution from Marilyn Manson, right? Here's my question: who is more likely to go after Evan Rachel Wood or to commit some kind of retribution? Marilyn Manson or this bar owner, right? I would be way more terrified of Marilyn Manson and what he could do than some bar owner. So if she's really terrified about her past abuser coming after her, why is she publicizing the one who has way more money and clout and power, that is Manson, than some guy who owns like a local bar? So it doesn't make sense. It absolutely doesn't make sense from many different perspectives. And again, what it really, I think, shows us is that she's got some fundamental issues here, and this story has fundamental issues, and perhaps she has been assaulted at some point in her life. I wouldn't be surprised, but she was not assaulted by Marilyn Manson, and the story has become very convoluted.
So, and as you bring up, if she's terrified of Manson, I feel like she's doing like little things also to poke at him. For example, Phoenix Rising part 2 came out on March 15th. The 15 is a huge number for Manson. He's incorporated that in his art. So I know that had to have been done on purpose. That was not a coincidence. And so if she's really scared for her son's life and her life, why is she poking at him with these little things that she knows he would understand? That makes no sense to me also.
Right. And if she's really scared for her son, why did she make her son such an important aspect of part 2 of Phoenix Rising as well? Like, oh, I'm really scared that some crazy Marilyn Manson supporters and Marilyn Manson himself might have to come after my son, right, for retribution. But on the other hand, okay, I'm going to put him in this documentary that's all about Marilyn Manson and how awful he is. Like, it doesn't pass the basic logic test.